Here.
Senator Buckley.
Here.
Senator Day. Senator Sullivan. Senator Jackson.
Absent.
Senator Heath. Senator Shaw. Senator Gabriella. Senator McCormick. Here. Senator Rockwell.
Senator Hardy.
Here.
Senator Smith.
Here.
Senator Kadakia.
Here.
Senator Carrington. Senator Key.
Here.
Senator Dillinger.
Here.
Senator Ingopasi.
Here.
Senator Lentz.
Here.
Senator Chang. Senator Bazell.
Here.
Senator Chang. Senator Pecoraro.
Here.
Senator Curtis.
Here.
Senator Zhang.
Here.
Senator Zhao. Senator Moore.
Here.
Senator Good.
Here.
Senator Bullock.
Here.
Senator Manguli.
Here.
Senator Uriah.
Here.
Senator Farrell.
Here.
Senator Howe. Senator Hess.
Here.
Senator Luddy.
Here.
Senator Bartlett.
Here.
Senator Sythe. Senator Tom. Senator Yearley.
Here.
Senator Wayne. Senator Torges.
Here.
Senator Rockvogel.
Here.
Senator Bernetti.
Here.
Senator Skoufis.
Here.
Senator Thompson.
Here.
Senator Caldwell. Here. Senator Madlock.
Here.
Senator Goldschuk. Pro Tem Hopkins.
He's here. He just stepped outside.
Vice President Lukanchi.
Here.
Vice President Norwalk.
Here.
President-elect Gonzalez.
Here.
Executive Vice President-elect Wiseman.
Here.
Vice President Lockhead.
Here.
Vice President Melvin.
What's up?
Vice President Jennings.
Here.
All right. Minutes have not been uploaded from last week, so we're going to move straight to announcements. Congratulations to President-elect Tara Gonzalez, EVP-elect Alana Wiseman, and SOC Chair-elect Gwen Janet. Moving forward, Mr. Boyd, you please come down.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Jack Boyd, class of 1985. I'm president-elect of the Alumni Association. I'm here with Sterling Wilder. Sterling is class of 1983. She's associate vice president of Alumni Affairs. She's located here on campus. We're going to tell you a little bit about the Alumni Association tonight. So we're going to start out with our mission. Our mission is to engage, connect, and celebrate with alums and friends of Duke, of course. And our tagline is Forever Duke. So I'll tell you a little bit about the alumni body. About 162,000 alumni, living alumni, I guess I should make that clear. A little bit over half of those have undergraduate degrees from here at Duke. Our median age is 46, which may not sound very young to you at this point in your life. But relative to our peers, we're actually a very young school. About half of our alums have graduated since 1996. So this is where we live. So if you look, 21% of our alums live here in North Carolina. Another 30% live here in the South, so more than half of our alums live here in the South of the U.S. 19% in the Northeast, 15% out West, 8% in the Midwest, and then another 6% live outside the U.S. Look at these stars. So these stars here, the yellow stars, are our largest cities, and by largest cities we mean the largest alumni populations. And then those white stars are what we call the next tier. About the yellow stars on that map. You can see we're very concentrated on the eastern seaboard, as you might guess. So if you look at our total alumni, we now have more graduate professional school students than we have undergrads. So each year, as more students graduate, a higher percentage of our students are graduate professional school students, other than as a percentage of the total. And of course, our ethnic diversity as an alumni association continues to grow because Duke is more diverse now than it was 10 years ago, and 10 years ago it was more diverse than it was 10 years before that. So we'll talk a little about. So these are the big ideas that we're working on as an alumni association. The first one is having an agile and dynamic alumni network platform. We just launched within the last week. I'm going to talk about these individually. I'm going to go through the whole list. A consistent, inclusive, and powerful regional presence. We want to strengthen our education. You know, just because you leave Duke doesn't mean your education is going to stop. So we call that our concept is quorum learning. A deepening alumni engagement with students and with one another. And of course, being a signature home for alumni and visitors here on campus. So the first one is this new alumni network that just launched. You know, so what does it allow us to do that the old one didn't allow us to do? Well, you know, so there are a lot of things that we want to do. So you can find old friends, make new ones. You know, we say simplify your alumni life. You'll find that, you know, on the old system you had to have different logins to do different things. So we have one login for all things Duke. Putting Duke on your calendar. So if you live in New York and you travel to New Delhi or vice versa, and you're going to be there for a while, you'll say, you know, what's going on with Duke alumni in that region? Then this platform allows you to go check that out and sign up for events, places you might be traveling. Join a group, start a new one. So if let's say you're a banjo playing wine player who likes to play chess, and you want to find other banjo playing wine drinkers who like to play chess, then you can start that group if you like. You can find someone who wants to join you. When you want to let your friends know what's going on with you in your life, maybe you have a new job, your marital status might change, you might get an award. It's very easy to go up and update that information so other alums can see what's happening. You know, helping the next generation, there are a couple ways you can do that. You might give career advice to a student. You might interview prospective students who are coming, who want to come to Duke. For Start Adventure, I mean, the tagline for our network is 160,000 alums, infinite possibilities, and we will be adding a student portal so that students will be able to interact with the ones on the network. All right, so next, you know, we talked about the percentage of students who live here in North Carolina, so it's about 21%. But you can live in North Carolina and be 4 hours away. So those people are probably not coming to campus on a regular basis to participate in programming for Alumni Association. So what we have to do is we have to bring Duke to where our alums are living. A lot of that is done through volunteers. We have, I think, between 8,000 to 10,000 volunteers each year are involved in making alumni activities happen for us. And those activities, mainly programming taking place, educational programming, networking, social, special access. Special access might be something, for example, we had an event at the 9/11 Memorial Museum that was exclusively a Duke event back in May of last year. 250 people came to an event, a Hamilton event, with a talk back from the cast after the show. And you know, both of those events were oversold by about 250 people. So people were really interested in the kind of things that we're offering. Of course, we used to call them hoops watches. We now call them sports watches because we watch more than just hoops around here these days. And of course, industry affiliations and volunteer opportunities other than making events happen. We also have to awards to see some people participate in. Okay, so Forever Learning. So Faculty Fellows is a program where current Duke professors have agreed to travel on the Alumni Association's behalf, and so they go into our regions, and we have events built around the kind of work that they're doing. Duke Travel, and 2016 alone, there are 53 travel programs in different parts of the world, and those are usually with a Duke professor, so it is an educational program. There are online courses that are available, and then we have weekends, events like Women's Weekend, where about 3 weeks ago we had 450 women who came back to campus for all kinds of educational programming. Okay, alumni engagement with students and with one another. So AAAC is Alumni Admissions Advisory Council. About 50% of the students who come to Duke have an interview. Let's see a raise of hands of others who had an interview before they came here. So about 50% of the students who come to Duke do have interviews. They do make a difference, and it is the only interview that students get to have. And that's done, I think in the past year, there were 4,500 alumni volunteers who conducted roughly 16,000 interviews. Duke Futures is a program where the alumni office here on campus is coordinating alumni in the field with students to find internships and careers. And then I'm going to talk about career networking. So when you leave Duke, you're going to leave with several things. You're going to leave with a degree, right? Hopefully, right? You're going to leave with probably some pretty good friends. You're going to leave with some great memories and experiences, but you're also going to leave with something that you didn't have to work so hard to create, and that is a network. And the great thing about that network is actually going to strengthen over time, because that network is going to grow. And yes, that's going to be a career network, but it's going to be a network that might help you achieve something like, let's say you're going to be in San Diego for a week, and you want to celebrate a special event, maybe it's a friend's 50th birthday, you want to take them out to a nice restaurant. You might reach out to someone in the network and say, hey, can you recommend a great restaurant? My friend loves Thai food. So the network, and the career piece of it is, you know, we talked about the number of graduate students versus the number of undergraduate students. So Duke has to be everybody. You might need to talk to someone in a company. Let's say you want to talk to someone at Microsoft. It might be someone who graduated here and went to business school, but they might be able to help you find someone that you need to talk to for the division of Microsoft that you like to work in. Women's Forum is programming and informal gatherings to both strengthen and nurture connections between among Duke alumni. All right. Industry verticals, Duke Gen is Global Entrepreneurship Network, and DMEN is Duke Entertainment Media Arts Network. So this is just groups of people who have industry affiliations that might help them in their work and in their career. Of course, and then of course the affinity groups, Duke Black alumni, DULA, Hispanic Latino alumni, and of course the LGBT network as well. And last, but certainly not least, we're in the final design stages of a new alumni and visitor center. It will be a home base for alums on campus. It will house our considerable alumni affairs staff, which how many people is that now, Sterling?
Oh, no, we don't talk about that.
Okay. Doing a lot of great work for our alums. The whole point is that we want to make sure all our alums feel welcome. Certainly, we want to make all it's an alumni center for all schools and all programs of Duke. Give us a place where we can honor and recognize our alums. There'll be great event and meeting spaces, and of course, a visitor center, which we don't currently have on campus. So the one question that we'd like to ask of you is, how can DAA support current students? Any thoughts on that?
Or any questions about?
Well, there's a question.
Oh, what type of survey information do you guys collect from alumni? Type of survey information or anything like that you collect? Is there an end of graduation alumni survey or anything like
So
that?
you fill out a survey when you pick up, and you're a senior and you pick up your baccalaureate tickets.
Okay.
And that's a survey that's done by Student Affairs.
Okay.
But there's also a survey that's done by Kofi. It's done at 5, 10, and 15 years. We actually just did a survey of all alumni, an attitudinal survey, which we hope to get the results soon, and we're going to be comparing with other schools in our peer group. Well, there are like 50 or 60 schools that are actually doing that. So we can see sort of what do alums appreciate, what do they want, what distinguishes Duke alums from other alums. We actually survey a lot. We try and not do it so much because people sometimes are like, oh my God, they're surveying me again. So we try and be a little conservative in that, but you will be surveyed when you pick up your baccalaureate tickets and graduation. But that's really just a satisfaction survey for you guys.
I wonder, are there any opportunities
opportunities right now for current Duke students to meet Duke alumni or volunteer for alumni events?
That's a great question. That's a really good question. We've never had students ask about volunteering. We do have students that work in our office, bless you. But in terms of meeting with alums, so on Women's Weekend, we had a lot of opportunities for female, students to meet with alums. I guess we could have joked everybody we will, going forward. But that's a really good question. And so for Demon Weekend, which is Duke Entertainment Media Arts Network, we do have alums and students that meet, but we're looking and thinking about ways that we can do that for other industries and on a more consistent basis. And that's sort of our a caricature of Four Lines House, which has now been completely shut down and is being gutted and renovated. And we actually just moved last week off campus to the Knoll Building in American Tobacco. And I've spent my whole life since I graduated working on Duke's campus, so it's really crazy for me to be in American Tobacco. But we are accessible, and it'd be interesting to talk to you if you have ideas about more ways that we could do that. Because we have a lot of events and programs. We do things at graduation. We used to do the Forever Duke Welcome Party. We give you your picture books. We do all kinds of events and programming, but we need to make sure you understand that it's us doing that. So.
How did you advertise to girls about the opportunity to meet alumni during Women's Weekend?
Oh, that's a really good question. So there were a couple of groups that we worked with, but also it was advertised in the Chronicle, I believe, and through email. So, yeah.
So, given that the advising system at Duke is currently a little bit all over the place, and many Duke students don't really know what becomes important later on, is there some kind of mentorship program in place where Duke alumni can connect to students and say, here's what's going to be important, here's what you'll want to get out of a Duke experience here on this major or that major?
Well, it's so interesting that you mention that, because every time I turn around, there's some administrator saying we need alums to mentor students. So Dean Nowicki and Provost Sally Kornbluth and Dean Ashby and I are talking about how do we think about instituting this university-wide. I don't want to make it a program where you have to have all these rules and regulations, but I don't think it makes sense for everybody, every group to be thinking about it. So we want to think of a way that makes sense, that's organic, that alums and students can connect. And the network that Jack spoke about is part of that. But also we need to make sure that we help you understand what is the best way to approach alums. Because I'm not going to pick on you, but I'm an academic advisor, and I had an advisee say, hey, so I have an interview with X company in 2 days, and you need to send me all the names of the Duke alums that work there, because I need to connect with them. We're thinking, well, we need to take a step back, and we need to figure out how do we help you frame that in a better way. Because I was going to help him, but not every alum would do that, right? Because that's not necessarily the best way to approach it. So I think thinking about ways that we can find ways and easy ways for alums to connect with students is great. But also, and you all are a good group to help with that, is to understand the benefit of connecting with someone who is an alum is huge, right? And so how do we make other students understand that? Because not everybody sort of is savvy to that or understands that or can connect with that.
So I know we take a lot of metrics as far as how we stack up to our peer institutions, as far as how alumni stay engaged and the sense of giving, and I think third parties take that into consideration a lot. Can you talk a little bit about where we are not stacking up to our peer institutions and how DSG might be able to help with those areas?
That's a really, really good question. So it's a really good question. So the alumni giving part is the development office, and we believe that if alums are engaged, and an engaged alum can do many things. One of them is give, one of them is interview, volunteer, do all kinds of things, set up an internship. But we have actually just hired someone to look at what does our metrics look like, because there are very few alumni associations in the country that are looking at that return on engagement, as we'll call it, right? So it's really important for us to understand what programs are working, how are we engaging with our alums, what's making a difference. And so I think that we will know more in the next year when we set a baseline for engagement. So our strategic plan that was approved by the trustees in December of 2014, we have agreed to double our engagement in the next 3 to 5 years, which is pretty big. So we're really going to need you all to help us do that, but being able to set baselines and understanding where we are now is really important to moving forward. And again, there's not many alumni, there are a couple of alumni associations in the country that are really sort of putting their stake in the ground, saying we have this kind of engagement and we need to move forward. And you know, for many years we talked about, and undergraduate world is so important. That's what we also are looking at graduate professional students too. So.
And then, you know, we are looking at things like, okay, so who gets more people back to campus for reunions than we do? Who, you know, so what are the different models that are out there?
Right.
When we go through that strategic plan and we look at the, you know, the things that we're working on, our peers tell us, you guys are crazy, why are you doing all these things at the same time, right? So yeah, exactly. So, but we are looking at that, but I don't think we look at it and say, this group is better than our group. And we did have, in January, we spent a full day with the Stanford Alumni Association to exchange ideas, talk about best practices. And we walked away going, they do some things well, but you know what, we do as many things well ourselves. So we felt pretty good about that interaction.
But we're not competitive as Duke's at all. But the other thing that I spent my whole career working at Duke, but the other thing that I know and that you all know is that we care deeply as students and alums about our institution, and I think that makes a huge difference, because not every alumni body and student body feels the way that we all do about our institution.
Does anyone else have any other questions or comments?
So I know that Duke today has done a little bit of this, but I think that just in terms of ideas of like what could, I think if spotlighting different alumni would be good, and like kind of just talking about, I think there's, on this campus, there's a lot of people sometimes, and I'm kind of in that mindset, right, because I'm a sophomore, about to declare my major, but there's always a mindset like you need to have a marketable major, you need to do this, all this stuff, and I think it'd be very helpful for the student body to have like a regular way to see that different alumni are doing different things with different majors.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
We're partnering with the advising center, but we need to do a better job of talking about that.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, you can major in anything.
Yeah,
Anything is good.
See,
It doesn't have to be marketable. It drives me crazy as
and
an
like
advisor.
speaking to my experience, I know that like I've always been told that it's the degree, all this stuff, but then when it comes to it, I'm like, is it though? Like, is it going to be okay? All this stuff. So
It is going to be okay. You can be an English major and be the best doctor in the whole world. Yes.
yeah, and that's why I think it'd be very important to have that, just like to reinforce the students that. And I think that way we'll have more people on this campus like doing things that they love, instead of just like trying to go for the marketable because they hate.
Well, this is the first time since I was a student that I've been to DSG, so I'm really excited that we're here to talk about it. And I love the idea about thinking about how do we actively say these are the 10, 20, 30, 40 things that we can engage you with. So I'd love to work with you all more. So I thank Hezra for inviting me, because it's been a long time since I've been to DSG.
We love having you.
Can we just have your contact information? No.
We're gonna-
Already
Yes,
That was super smooth.
That was
Who said there wasn't dating culture too?
No, I really don't work here. I just made all this up.
Okay, thank you very much.
Will Andy Elwood and Rebecca Sanchez of the American Institute.
All right, how's it going, guys?
Going great.
Awesome. So my name is Perfecto Sanchez, and yes, that is my real name. And we're here to talk to you about the America Is Tour. So you might be asking, what is the America Is Tour? So before I even get into that, I'll just again introduce myself so you know why we're here and why we love and care about America. So I was 21 when I graduated from West Point. And at 22, I was leading 35 men in combat in Ramadi. So in less than a year, I found myself in the most dangerous city in the entire world. My perspective at that time couldn't really comprehend what it really meant that this was a real dangerous place, two, what it really meant to actually serve my country in combat, because the world was a very interesting time was going through a very interesting time, and everything sort of happened really fast for me. Fast forward another couple deployments, another huge, big, life-changing experiences that come with combat. And just again to give you some perspective, I was an infantry officer, I was airborne, I was special operations. So my role really was to be with the people of Iraq and to really understand, how we can win the hearts and minds of the people of Iraq. And overall, I spent about 24 months in combat. I remember in some of the hardest and worst days of my life, I would always sort of we wouldn't be able to kick back sometimes, and I would just look at my friends and I would say, you know what? I hope somewhere, someone back home is doing something awesome, that all of this is sort of makes sense, because that is really the ideal that I myself signed up for when I chose to defend my country and to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. So that's my story about how I first sort of came to serve my country as a soldier. So fast forward, I left the military in 2010, had a very successful career in marketing and business. Most recently led Evian Water in North America as, again, the head of marketing here in the US and Canada. But since in the past year, I started my own business and now lead my own consulting firm in New York City. I was drinking beers the other day with my good friend Andy Elwood, and the TV was on. And you see all this news on TV about what America is, what America is not, and what America stands for. And it was a visceral reaction came to me, and I said, you know what? Is this the same ideal that I chose to defend and to represent 10 years ago? Is this the brand, like the country that, again, over 240 years ago, decided that, all people are created equal, and and have the right to the pursuit of happiness and life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Is this the ideal that we want our country to be best represented by? And yes, we are in an election year, and my question to you guys, as you are about to choose your majors and go off into the world and be the people you want to be in, you guys just think about, it's not who you vote for, it's more so what you believe in that really matters. And what you believe in and what you do to really live those ideals and to represent, that is what actually makes America what it is. So America isn't, this grand sort of dream that is not attainable. It really is at our fingertips. So when I ask myself the question, what is America? I say America is me. America is you. America is whatever we want it to be. And as I mentioned, when I was at the bar with Andy the other day, and we were watching TV, and said, you know what? The conversation is not being had where it needs to. Because I'm here in this room, and I look at you guys, and I remember, when I was in your shoes, and I said, you have your whole future ahead of you. You can make America whatever it is that you want to be. So we are going on a road trip from New York City down to South by Southwest. If you're not familiar with what South by Southwest is, it's the premier convention of innovation and marketing ideas down in Austin, Texas. It's 10 days, music, film, and interactive. And we have a platform where we're going to be asking celebrities, athletes, everyday people what America means to them. Because at the end of the day, what we want to do is to change the conversation. We don't want politicians to be telling the story about what America is. We want the people to be telling the story of what America is. And so, first and foremost, I want to thank you for having us here at Duke. It's a very prestigious institution, and what we want you to do is, as you look at TV or you ask yourselves what America is, for you to actually, answer that your own question and to live those values every single day. So, thank you for having me.
So what I learned quickly when Perfecto and I first became friends is if you say to Perfecto, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? he immediately puts it on the calendar. And when he said, hey, wouldn't it be cool if we took this road trip, we started asking these questions, we went to college campuses, military bases, corporate headquarters, and asked people to fill in the blank. America is, yeah, and I said tacos. We started to realize that it kind of stuck on, and we started telling our friends in New York, and as we traveled, that's just what we're up to, and they started using the hashtag, America is barbecue, America is music, America is friends, family, whatever it was. And so it's kind of fun now, we can look back, on Instagram or Twitter, and like the hashtag actually has a little bit of attraction to it. And the idea that that's possible is what's really fun. I just flew back from Chile and Brazil, where I spent the past week teaching entrepreneurs from around the world. My background is in the startup world. I went to Texas A&M University, studied finance, figured out I was pretty good at selling people things, and moved on from selling life insurance to then selling private jets for Warren Buffett, which is a fascinating way to spend your mid-20s, to then saying, you know what, if I want to really take what's possible, take kind of my ambition, my obsession with innovation, I need to step out and actually take the risk myself. And so jumped into a startup in 2009 called Gowalla, which was a location-based social network. We launched it South by that year and had a pretty good run. We were fortunate to be able to sell it to Facebook in 2011 prior to the IPO, which was a good time to sell. And what I've always learned is that if you are good at something, you tell people about it. If you are great at something, other people tell others for you. And your reputation starts to precede itself. And for us, after that acquisition, another company was just starting to blow up and grow, and they needed somebody to help them open their New York office. That company was called Waze. I don't know if you all are familiar with the traffic and navigation app. So I had the privilege of leading the sales marketing partnership team in New York for Waze prior to our acquisition by Google in 2013. And at that time, I was really thinking about where did I come from? Kind of, if I was going back and I was sitting in the shoes of myself when I was 18 or 22, would I have gone to college, given today's environment? If so, what would I have studied? And then where would I have studied that? And I was asking the question to this question with another friend of mine who had had some really success in his career. And so we realized that there's a lot of things that you just have to learn on the job. But there's a lot of times there's not a roadmap to kind of show you, here's the things to really pay attention to during that first hour of that second job. So we started the entrepreneurial boot camp called Exosphere, which is down in Chile, which is what I just came back from. So we've got about 1,000 folks come through. It's a little bit like entrepreneurial finishing school. We do 8-week boot camps where we kind of go through, hey, here's all the things that you may have learned about the world, and here's where the world is going. And when I was thinking about what America is, what would I fill in that blank besides tacos and barbecue? America is adaptation, all right? America is rolling with the punches. America is bouncing back, no matter what you find yourself in. And I think that, especially for you all about to launch out to the world, is going to define the next decade, is how much change is going to happen and how fast it's going to happen. And that's really what I want to encourage you guys with, is that America is bounce back, because rejection is a part of what comes next. I've been in sales my entire career, and my assumption is in order to get one yes, I have to hear 9 no's, right? So the best answer is yes, the second best answer is no, the worst answer is maybe, right? But if I hear a no, I'm like, oh, sweet, so you're not the one, maybe you are, right? And it's kind of having that confidence of the law of large numbers that it doesn't matter if you heard no one time, you're just going to keep going. And so that's really what we wanted to kind of swing by, say hello, thanks so much for having us. But we would love to keep the conversation going. I live and think in 140 characters or less. So Twitter is a fun way. If we can be helpful at all, really both professionals and I have a blast hearing new ideas, hearing things. So if you guys are ever up in New York City or really just want to ask us a question, please feel free to. Both of our websites are pretty accessible and easy. I'm actually hiring for interns this summer in Washington, D.C., so if that's of interest, you guys can track me down. But again, thank you so much for giving us a chance to talk about this. If you use the hashtag AmericaIs, I promise I'll give you an extra like on Instagram. And with that, we'll let you guys get back to your session.
We have some questions. Some time for questions. If there are any. Senator Curtis.
Has the American Squad been going on the past couple days, or is it?
Yeah, we started in New York on Monday night. We were in D.C. yesterday, and then here in Raleigh tonight. We will head to Atlanta, Nashville, Memphis, Mississippi, Louisiana, Dallas, College Station, and then end up in Austin.
And this is the first leg of hopefully a bigger platform. is. So the vision for the platform is to really inspire individual responsibility. And what I think we're hoping to most impact is actual media. So to change the conversation, if media consistently covers negative stories and the worst part of what is America, then that's the way the conversation is going to go. We're aggregating these stories, we're creating different content, and then we're promoting them out via our sponsors and through media. So Andy writes for Forbes, I write for The Observer. We have NPR that's coming on as another platform, and we have several brands that are all amplifying the content, so that as collectively we raise up as people to say, okay, here, this is what America stands for. Hopefully it's a more positive conversation than the consistent negative conversation that has been occurring thus far.
Anyone else?
Yes, sir.
I just want to know, how many other college campuses have you been to or plan to be at?
Well, UNC earlier today, you guys are very conveniently close by. And then we'll be as a new member of the SEC, Texas A&M, I'm doing my best to touch every school as we can. But no, we've got, I think, 3 or 4 more this week as we make our way down to Atlanta. And then from Memphis to Mississippi, Louisiana, and then a couple in Texas before we get to Austin. So we're aiming for 10 total. I think that's what we said on the website. So we might actually do it.
Great.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you very much.
Does anyone have any additional announcements they would like to make this moment?
Just a note on the alumni presentation. There is something called the Duke Student Alumni Board, and that conversation sort of got any gears turning in your head about ways that the alumni office or we can engage with student advisory or opportunities for students or more for alumni engagement after graduation. Just like shoot me a message or you can contact Sterling as well.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I have a couple announcements. I'll just stand up here, it's not that important. I don't know if y'all have heard, but there's been a lot of talk on social media about tenting and how tenters are upset with the line monitors. And I just want to remind everyone, this might not be applicable to everyone here, but Gautam, if y'all want to publish this or, yeah, I'm an offer.
Calm down,
Ryan.
DSG, okay, the line monitors are under our,
You can sue them.
yeah, you can sue the line monitors, a group can sue the line monitors if you think you were treated improperly. If you have any questions, let me know, send Dana an email. Dana's out until early next week, but send me an email if you want to do that. And yeah, the judiciary really needs a case, so that actually be good.
Because they actually have a case starting today. Somebody slid into their DMs.
Yeah, so send me an email. Questions?
You need an example case. Nikolai and I wrote one freshman year and almost sued them.
Georgia, that was a waste of your time. That's fair.
Sean, did you want me to say that?
Yeah, all of us.
Okay.
But seriously, that's why, was there any reason, there's 2 reasons why the line monitors are affiliated with DSG. Number 1, so that somebody, anybody externally approves their bylaws, i.e. us, and so that there is a fair mechanism of checks and balances if individuals feel they're wrong. So.
Yeah, so the question was, what can we sue them for? So each year, the line monitors come to us in the fall, and we approve basically their rules for KVO for the whole year. So if they violated those rules, and I've heard cases that they have, but again, the individual affected has to bring it to the attention of the judiciary. If they violated those rules, that's what you're looking for. So they're on the drive, right, John? The KVO rules. So yeah, check that out if you think they're violated.
Hi guys, so this week is One Sexy Week with the Wellness Center, and the Economic Committee has been working with them. Hopefully you guys also see green on Monday. So basically we're going to end the week with, on Friday there's going to be an event At 6 p.m. I'm going to post in the group and invite you all so you'll know to not go. But it's called The Clapback, and it's going to be stories of sex and youth relationship coaching. It's kind of it's basically going to be like a Me Too monologue / like open mic night, because we've had submissions of different stories. So yeah, if you come out, we're hoping to get good attendance, and it just fits the theme of not only One Sexy Week, but also Rivals Week that they have. Cool. Thank you.
If you want one of these great t-shirts, out top that is raising money for Blue Devils versus Cancer.
Barely, barely.
Hey guys, so early voting starts tomorrow at the Friedman Center. It starts tomorrow from, let me get the time right, 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. So it's right between East and West. The Facebook event should be in the DSG Facebook group, but if y'all want to invite friends, that would be awesome. It's got like 1,000 invites, but we really want to get it to literally all of campus, so if you guys can just take a couple minutes, that would be really cool. And if you have any questions, let me know. But yeah, vote. Anyone else?
To elaborate on what Dinner said, because he kind of just started talking and no one was really listening.
Appreciate it.
We're selling, ATO is selling Blue Devils versus Cancer t-shirts. We do it every year. It's $15 with flex for a shirt. If you want to donate less than that, you can. All of the money goes to the Duke Cancer Research Center. So definitely come out to the plaza and buy a shirt. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, moving on. Is anyone going to come to the forum? Okay, then moving on to special presentations and report. Senate Judiciary Chairman John Miller, if you'd like to stand.
So the Senate Judiciary Committee is expanding the bylaws to require the committee to be 5 to 7 people. Right now it is at 4. And so at this time, I would like to open the floor up to nominations for the perhaps 1, 2, 3 additional members. Would you like to join? A little bit about the Senate Judiciary Committee. They're the Senate Committee tasked with vetting candidates to the judiciary and also for hearing cases of misbehaving in Senate and attendance policies.
Any such nomination on the floor this moment?
How regularly do you guys meet?
We meet when there are cases, and there are a number of cases. So it is basically going to be a pretty active spring, I think.
Okay.
I nominate Senator Brunetti.
Senator Brunetti, you accept?
I accept.
Anyone else? Senator Dillinger?
I nominate Senator Ferguson.
Senator Davis, you accept?
I accept.
There's 2. Vice President there.
I nominate Senator Caldwell.
Senator Caldwell, do you accept? There's 3. Are there any further nominations? Vice President Melgar?
I nominate VP Norwalk.
VP Norwalk, do you accept?
No.
I don't think so. Senator Hardy?
I nominate VP Belgrade.
All right. Do you accept Vice President Melgar? Okay.
Motion to close the floor for nomination.
Wait a second.
Second.
All in favor?
I don't think it's very
Great. 3. No votes. Moving on. Question time. Please.
Pose a question. Wait, did these a question time? Yeah, I guess so.
Oh yeah, guys. So, an exciting thing happened, team. We made a State of the Union, maybe because we wanted to educate the student body, maybe because I think I'm great on camera. It's honestly super unclear. Jacqueline edited and filmed it, so she's gonna post it on the DSG Facebook page, and if everybody could grab that link and post it to your Facebook. I know that only the moms will watch it, but one of the things that we've really seen is that for students who are hungry with information, they feel that information is not there, and so we created this resource for them to get the information that they are hungry for. Yeah, Jacqueline.
Yeah, it's not right now.
The time is now. The clock is ticking.
It's 6 minutes long, it's fun. It's really great, it's really cute.
Does
Yes.
anyone have any questions for Texas?
So,
Share it.
yeah, so YT, meeting with Adele.
Oh, we had a great meeting with Rodell this morning.
Only gossip.
We only got to 50% of it. Yeah, so we definitely, like, in thinking about the young trustee process, there was like, we made some good conclusions, and I think next year the timeline's gonna shift a little bit, maybe back by like a week and a half or so, just to give a larger window of time for applications, because like one of the things that he was asking about was whether we thought that because there weren't a lot of women, and that was a concern, and so looking at that and looking at how the timeline affected the number of applicants, so I think we're gonna look around and shift that, and then
Also think about reaching out to groups that weren't adequately represented in the applicant pool this year to kind of spread that message a little further, because we think that individuals not self-selecting to apply, it's not a good enough reason to have people representing certain groups and identity markers not being represented in the final 3.
Yeah, and I think he was also really satisfied, that with the training and with the results, that people were starting to really understand what the young trustee is, and that it's not the president that you can't put on the platform. And so I think we're definitely gonna see a little bit more of that next year, of like, definitely more discussion of like, this is what the role is, just for clarification, so that it becomes easier for everybody to understand what it is, the difference between that and like running on a traditional platform.
Right, and then the other thing was, we're probably going to present a bylaw change soon to think about if we want to add the line that the young trustee nominating committee is encouraged to put forth a diverse slate of candidates, as opposed to what's in the status quo, which is basically just doing the top 2 to 4. Obviously, it's up to the Senate to decide on something like that, but one of the things that we found this year was, in the past, since the YTNC has so much institutional memory and was so DSG, it could sort of be passed by word of mouth that even though it's not explicit in the bylaw that it's a slate, that it often is a slate. But this year, since literally the YTNC was so new and was so un-DSG touched, that they ended up basing all of their decisions on the bylaws, which just implied choose the top 3 candidates, and those just happened, for example, to be all men this year. And so thinking about it, that's something we want to think about going forward.
I would just like to slightly respond to that.
Yeah, I mean, we're not arguing about it right now, it's just
That
good.
there are different viewpoints that.
Yeah.
No, and that's like, I'm literally saying, that's something that will be presented, not something that you need to vote positively on.
What's your other question?
No, I was just gonna be a comment on that.
No, literally, we will have an argument about it at a
There's
later
question
date.
time for
Don't
questions.
stress, it's not panicking, I'm not telling you to vote for it, I don't know, I agree with it, I'm just saying, I am giving you eventually the opportunity to think about that. Cool, Gucci? Does anybody feel abused?
Jay?
Asking actual questions. So considering that 80% of the students voted for our fabulous referendum in the ballot today, are there specific plans, like, I don't know, maybe John can answer this, to put forward Tanner's plan / the Billy plan from last week as a change ASAP before we end up having to people have to start putting in their things for committees and whatnot? What's our thought process there? Et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, so I think the plan is that the people who originally proposed restructuring are just gonna take it, so I don't think any of us up here have much to do with that, but I do know that, under the model that was sort of unofficially adopted by Senate last time, it wouldn't require, what?
The sub-block?
Yeah. There wouldn't need to be like really much urgency, just because those seats would be filled and involved, so really.
Why don't we have urgency then?
Huh?
So like, no, I'm just more asking, I guess part of this is putting it on the table to make sure that we do have urgency about it, because I'd rather see us vote on it in a week than us continue.
It'll happen.
Okay, all right.
Anyone else?
You're on.
So there was a Board of Trustees meeting on Friday, right?
I can't tell you.
One of the cool things that came out of that was VP Norrick and I both sat on the committee that suggested to the Facilities and the Environment Committee on what to do to honor Abel, and the Board of Trustees Committee decided to put a plaque in the chapel and to name a quad after him. So that's an exciting thing that came out of that committee that
Basically made it happen.
it's unfair. I asked Riddell if Norwalk made it happen explicitly, and he said no. So for a little context, what was actually presented to the Board of Trustees by the memo of the committee that Norwalk and I sat on was not what was changed. So we had suggested something different, and the Board of Trustees chose the quad, and we're all very concerned that Norwalk convinced the Board of Trustees to do the quad. and it's unclear if you did or not, and if there was some student-based manipulation there, so. Because you manipulated adults.
I mean, if you were able to. Next question.
At Norwalk.
Norwalk.
That board wall thing you're putting up. When's that coming out?
It's being fabricated right now.
Okay.
Not right now, but like.
Updates on Pitch a Project?
Pitch a project is getting paid tomorrow, look through our 16 applications.
There's some really cool ideas. One of your wonderful ideas.
Yes.
Sorry. She was pumped. Okay, one of the cool ideas, I don't know if this is feasible, but I was reading all the applications, and one of the things that one of the student groups suggested is asking all of the Duke dining locations to start a universal reusable cup program, where like if you get a cup from like AUP and it has your copy in it, as opposed to a paper cup that you throw away, you can like drop it off in Penn, and it'll be part of the Penn dishes, for example, or drop it off at any other campus eatery, because everyone has universal reusable cups. Wouldn't that be so dope?
So addendum, that actually might exist.
So I don't know if it's realistic use of money, like I and the people that stuff like that, about services, but I just want to say, Pitcher Project is really
Anyone else?
Courtney.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I forgot to say this during announcements before, so thanks, George. But we're building the open conversations bench again on Sunday for 15 minutes because we received like a lot of different posts about it, and we think that it's a really great addition to the campus environment and kind of encouraging people to just get out and talk to each other. So you guys should all stop by, even if it's just for like 10 minutes, just to like support. And if you actually want to help build, that'd be great too, because I don't know anything about building, but we have someone else taking care of that. But if you want to come, yeah, despite being in Pittsburgh campus, I don't know how to build.
Who's planning to be there? Raise your hand.
There will be pizza.
Yay, yeah, there's gonna be pizza, so if nothing else, come for the pizza. And I'd love to see you guys just stop by and show support, so.
No, just come show support, do your homework while sitting on the floor next to them building that. Yeah. So one of the things.
It's Sunday at 12, in front of who, which is like Women's Housing Option, Baldwin, D-Sig, that area. Yeah, where the so, okay.
That is now gonna be called.
Wait.
Oh, is that what it is?
To clarify, April Quad is everywhere from the clock tower to the data.
Hey guys, so, Jerry, sorry, Jerry, did you have something?
No, I just was clarifying what April Quad is. It is where the clock tower is that goes all the way down to where the medical center is.
The clock tower to
Can you make us a map, Norma?
residential quad and the academic quad.
Make us a map, make us a map, okay. One of the things that I just wanted to comment on before we head out was the recent Chronicle reporting on the stuff that was happening within PTS, and I just wanted to sort of say that this is something that DSG exec is definitely thinking about and is talking about, and clearly we are not a body that is, a judicial body in any way that can like investigate anything. But what I will say is, from looking at what the Chronicle has reported, especially empirically, about the difference in the number of Black identified workers in the parking group at PTS 2 years ago versus today, clearly there's something either going on culturally, logistically, or in intimidations that is causing the number of people of certain racial groups working there to have declined so substantially, and that DSG exec, and I guess I can't speak for everyone, but I'm definitely speaking for myself, would really love to see a world in which the Office of Institutional Equity evaluates those numbers in these instances, because I genuinely think that even if 1% of the things that were reported in that article are true, that we have a horrifying, deeply rooted issue about racial inequality happening, and we're thinking about maybe bringing a resolution to ask the Office of Institutional Equity to think about those things. But I want at least you guys to know that this is not something that has, slid past us, and it's something that's really important for us to think about. And if anybody has any ideas on how we want to handle that, please refer them to Alona, obviously as VP, and then we'll sort of go from there. Yeah.
So an election, finished up today, and your boy Gotham asked me this on the way in, but there's been a lot of discussion about different things that have been happening over the course of the 24 hours of the election, and may or may not be kosher. And I'm wondering, who is the AG handling this? How are we keeping track of it and monitoring it? Is the judiciary taking it? Because we don't have a BOE now, so who is overseeing the one dude who's right now?
We're sending everything to the judiciary. So basically, the way that the bylaw works is when an individual is hit with a sanction of a number of votes being docked, then the place that they were supposed to appeal that to is the Board of Elections. Now, I haven't heard of anybody who has been hit with a sanction appealing those sanctions, so at this point, the lack of Board of Elections is not problematic, but there are individuals who are trying to appeal the way others were sanctioned, and so we're sending those people to the judiciary, and specifically Dana Raphael is working with them. So if you guys hear of any candidates who want to appeal the way something that has happened, please talk to me, and I will connect you with Dana Raphael. Is that fair? Is that?
Yeah, no, and I was just more asking because I was kind of interested, because right now we don't have like a group, it's just one person, so I was wondering how that was being.
Right, and that is.
So are the election, this is actually a good question to ask too, are the election results actually finalized? Because there are still, so they're not technically actually finalized, even though the Chronicle's reported them.
That is a good point. I think that what I will say is for the status quo until any is overturned.
Okay, so it is the, okay.
Yeah.
And just to clarify, Dana Raphael is the chief justice.
That was not clear, and that clarification is necessary. As a follow-up.
Any other questions?
No, she has a lot of associate justices, they just never heard case.
No, I'll text you. We have meeting on Tuesday.
Are you? I'm sorry. Jordan.
Alrighty, it is time for transition. Are there any confirmations?
No, so much as it's just about.
Alright, I don't think there's questions. I don't think there's confirmation. Yes. No, let's do that. ACC. Hi guys, so I'm presenting two events today. The first one is by the African Conversations Club. It's the event is called Africa and the Diaspora from a Feminist Perspective. So it's going to be on April 19th, and they're bringing in this very famous woman, Minna Salami. And so they got a good amount of funding from UCF and the Africa Initiative. So we are covering the rest of those costs. So we're covering the rest of the honorarium. They got, you can see how much they got from those two groups. And then we're covering her flights from London Heathrow to Raleigh, Durham, and back. And it's going to be, like, she's going to be having a big lecture and White Lecture Hall. So.
Does anyone have any questions?
Sick there.
Any questions at all? Okay, we're now allowed to protect the negative against the programming request. Everyone has to speak against it. We now move to a vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Awesome. And the other event that we have is the Environmental Alliance Earth Fest. So this is going to be on Clock Tower Quad. Maybe that's no.
No, that's Clock Tower.
Okay, sorry.
Actually, no, it's Able Quad. You're right.
Anyway, so they're doing Earth Fest on April 17th. It's their big event. So the main things that we're funding is a stage because we're going to have a local band come and play. And then an AC/DC converter box for the bike-powered speakers. It's pretty cool. They're going to have bike-powered speakers, and they're also going to have like bike-powered smoothies. So it's pretty sick. Yeah. So it's their big event of the semester, Earth Fest, April 17th, and yeah, those are like the main things that we're funding. Any questions? They're also having some activities like if instead of, I didn't really understand this, but like instead of washing your clothes, maybe bleach them to save some water. So they're having a bleach dyeing event, and I don't know, but I kind of trust them. I don't really know environmental stuff. And then so yeah, overall, Earth Fest.
Any other questions? All right.
Wait, quick question. So how many people did they say is coming to this?
Like 100.
Okay, because I remember this last year, and it was on like Clock Tower Quad, like no one was there. But
I mean, we'll check to make sure that a lot of people come, but I kind of expect
for 3 hours on Clock Tower Quad for Earth Fest, and a lot of people would be there.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll definitely be there.
How much is the final allocation?
21,000. I mean,
21,000. It's important, carbon offsets are.
No, it's not. 1848, sorry.
Okay, yeah.
That's fine.
Sorry.
Roll back up.
Yeah.
Any other questions? We're now in line protect negative, but I want to speak against the environmental lines. Seeing none, give us a second.
Move the line.
Just got so many. I found a snowboard.
You can read it on the SOC drive.
Yes, but my.
Are there any qualms? Alright, seeing none, goes to a vote. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those against? Alright. Moving forward to new business, Senate Pro Support Brian Hopkins, will you come down to present your constitutional change?
More procedural crap. Sorry. Love you, Brian.
Okay. This is fairly straightforward. This is the change that we talked about a couple of weeks ago, which is to move the pro temp election to the last meeting of the year. Note that we're restricting it to people that have previously served in the Senate. So if you take the example of the election this year, it was myself versus Jay. I had served in the Senate the immediately preceding year, so last year, and Jay had not really been on the Senate like 2 years ago. So this would be allowing anyone that's ever served on the Senate basically to run for the pro temp position. And it also requires that senators that have been elected in the spring elections but won't get sworn in until the first meeting of the next year, they'll attend the last meeting of this year to vote for the pro temp, if that makes sense. Are there any questions about that?
What are our pro temp elections right now?
They're in the first meeting of each legislative session. So I can go into maybe a little rationale of why I think that's beneficial. So previous pro temps haven't really done anything. You know, I'm kind of the first one since I've been here that's really gone to exec meetings and participated in exec. But exec is sworn in at the last meeting of each legislative session. So they do a lot over the summer. They communicate. They had a retreat at the beginning of the year. And I think it'd be really helpful if we could have the pro temp elected at the end of the year and then kind of institutionalize the position a little bit more into how exec operates in kind of those 4 months before the session starts.
Anyone else? Questions from Matashi?
So Jay couldn't have run if this was passed last year?
Yes, he could have. Yeah, it's anyone who has previously served.
So he could come to a Senate session?
Yes.
Okay, so if someone's abroad spring semester, which I guess doesn't really happen, but has previously served in Senate, then they couldn't.
Well, they wouldn't have run in the spring election, right? So in Jay's case, he had ran, I think you ran in the election in April, right?
What are we talking about?
When you, this past year?
For pro temp?
No, you were elected as a senator.
Yes.
Yeah, so you'd have to run, right, in order for that to apply, you'd have to run in the election, and you still couldn't do that if you were abroad spring semester, right?
Any other questions? This is only the first reading, we'll be voting on this next week.
Yeah. There's also a Senate bylaw change, which is the same thing. Yeah, any questions about that one, or?
All right. Thank you. Moving on to the omnibus budgetary statute, Senators Kudakia, Dellinger, and Hopkins.
Yeah. Okay, so this is huge. I'm really excited about this. This is like, you know, this is what we've been trying to do for 4 years, so like, I'm really excited. I kind of, as a joke, gave it the most bureaucratic name I could think of, so it is called the Student Life Improvement Omnibus Package. And what we're going to do is each week we're going to present a new part of the bill. Yeah. So in this specific statute, we have 3 monetary allocations. But every Sunday, this group here meets. Anyone is more than welcome to. And basically, what's going to happen? Basically, what's going to happen is we meet on Sunday nights. So basically, we meet on Sundays, we go over these ideas, we process them, we spend a little bit of time researching them, and then we're bringing them to you guys. I'll say a couple of things about this before I turn it over to Jackson and Giselle to talk about the specifics or not. Guys. So last thing I'll say before we kind of dive into this. I know that it's really hard for us to spend money, and that's a good thing. If you read my column this morning, we are a Democratic organization or a Republican organization. Not that political, not partisan, but you get what I'm trying to say. Which, like, it's ingrained into our system that we don't do things like spend money. And the argument always goes like this, and I know someone's going to make it, so I'm going to address it now. We're not going to spend this money because in August of next year, we're going to hear the greatest idea that I've ever heard of, and we're really going to regret that we will have spent so much money in surplus. Now, I've heard that argument for 4 years, and it still hasn't happened. So maybe someone in the new freshman class is going to introduce that great idea, but it hasn't happened in 4 years, and we just keep building up this money and not spending it, and not spending it, and not spending it. So we have a stated goal of spending $100,000 by the end of this year. Now, we didn't put in place any mechanism that's automatically going to spend this money if we don't spend $100,000, but our goal, it's been published in the paper, we've said it on Facebook and in emails, is to spend $100,000. So this is the first part. I encourage a rigorous debate, and I encourage younger senators also, if you read my column, to participate and be vocal. I think that'd be really good. I'm not going to try to convince you to vote either way, but I would like to address that argument that we shouldn't spend it just for the sake of saving. So, Jackson, if you want to take the first one.
TurboVote. So, TurboVote is essentially a startup, I think it's a nonprofit company. Yeah, it's a nonprofit. What they do is they help people get registered to vote. It's an online thing. You can enter all of your information online, and they'll send you a form. Why do we like this better than paper registration? Because we, for example, could have people register to vote over the summer, and then they could come to Duke with the registration form in their mailbox. I've talked to the mailing office. Mailboxes are open on August 1st, which would give people plenty of time to get everything turned in. Along with the actual voter registration stuff, and that specific initiative, there's some other voter registration stuff. A number of clubs on campus have requested it, thinking that would be very helpful for their specific registration initiatives. TurboVote tracks everyone who registered with them, not like what they're voting, obviously, but whether or not people come out to vote, and how many people we have registered in any given district. So then we'd be able to tell how politically engaged Duke's community actually is, which, given the amount of student interest that we've had in voter registration and turning out to vote, that information could be incredibly helpful. The final thing they do for stuff like local elections, there was a mayoral election at the beginning of this year where 14 Duke students voted.
Yeah.
There we go. Yeah.
On it.
There we got 2, and I'm like 4 or 5 that are in this room. So good job, guys. But we did vote. For people who want them, you can sign up to say TurboVote. I've registered with you. Send me reminders about when these elections are, where I need to go to vote, and what kind of stuff I need to have to actually make that voting happen. It should be a lot easier for students to vote, and TurboVote would make that happen. This is a 3-year contract. They'll work with us for that amount of time.
Yeah, you guys.
Questions? Do you want to be questions?
Yeah, that's fine.
Chief of Staff Manager.
I have a question. So, and VP Locke, I know you'll correct me on this one, but I think this was something that in the fall, the DPU, in conjunction with Duke Democrats and Duke Republicans and VP Locke had considered, but what we found, and Tanner, am I correct on this, that this one was kind of faulty because you have to then, this puts an extra step into the actual voter where they have to send in a form, and we thought even that is just too much on people. So what do you think about that? That requiring an extra step will actually
Franchise.
It will not motivate them to send in their actual voter registration.
Yeah, so I think that's a completely legitimate concern. I am personally, even if we get TurboVote, a fan of groups registering people with printed out ballots and then just delivering those, because I have more faith in me or another person from Duke Dems or DPU and delivering a ballot than I do having a voter taking it back, filling out the posting, the mail, all that stuff. So in terms of like, should a person carry around a computer with the TurboVote website pulled up, have a person with that information, and then mail it to them? I don't personally see that as being the ideal use of TurboVote. That said, some groups do. The ballot is kind of split. I know VP Lock and I weren't big fans of it. Unite is a big fan of it. DPU is in the middle, do you remember? Kind of undecided. So I think the jury's kind of out on that one, although in my opinion. That said, where I see TurboVote being exceptionally helpful is in the registration of new students coming to Duke. So another thing that's going on right now is, and we haven't integrated TurboVote into this yet because we need to fund it first, but there's going to be a spot in the freshman checklist for voter registration information. I've been talking to Dean Hale about that. So if, like, you're a freshman, you come in and you fill out your housing information, and then your medical records, and then your registration, and then when you come to school because of TurboVote, when you get here, there's a completely filled out form in your mailbox. I don't think it's adding an extra step in that case, so much as just getting people registered. Additionally, I'd say just given what I've talked to from Adam Gary, is the head of the Duke Games, and some folks in VPU, I think the stats and the reminders themselves are pretty valuable. At your age, I'm doing a lot of stuff recently, reminding people to go out and vote in the early voting session we have now. And insofar as TurboVote would accomplish a lot of that legwork for us, I think it's worth it.
I was under the impression that just in general, we should be spending surplus on capital projects that's lifespan would be at least, into the foreseeable future, say 5 to 10 years. Whereas like with this TurboVote thing, for example, it's just a 3-year contract, meaning it will only benefit the student body for the next 3 years. I just wanted to point that out and know if there was any discussion on that.
Yeah, we did talk about that a little bit in the thing. I'm of the opinion that this is a good enough thing, and we'll get enough students registered that'll be worth it. If you're thinking about long term, it's also, I think, worth pointing out that the way TurboVote does their price structuring is that if you go for a 3-year thing here and then commit or want to go further afterwards, it'd be significantly less expensive. If you want to write it in terms of a long-term thing that we pay like a lump sum now, that's totally possible. But I suggested with those things, I'd rather have like a test trial, really see how effective it is. Although I'm a big proponent now, I mean, I'd like to get some data on how it's works before going long-term. But that's, something that people should keep in mind if you'd rather it be a 10-year thing.
There's a 3-year contract, the minimum that you could have done.
No, we could have done a 1-year contract.
And so given that there's a presidential election this coming year, what was the motivation to do 3 rather than 1?
So a couple things. Pricing in terms of per year is a lot better for 3. There's kind of like a rush pricing right now because 7 different schools, 7 other universities are all signing up right now. But as the time goes on, the price significantly drops. So if we go 3 years instead of 1 year, those next 2 years are cheaper. Additionally, I think that I would like to see actually how effective this is. And I think that if the only information we have about how many people register through TurboVote is through an election year, that's probably not going to give us the best indication of how many people register through TurboVote. And I'm once again thinking about like freshmen over the summer, especially in any given year. So given that, I'd like to see it implemented in a couple of years that are election years, so we have a better judge of how of the efficacy of the project. And then if it does work out, once again, we extend the contract.
So could you illustrate again how exactly, like, say I'm a brand new student, I go into my Duke portal, and it's like, oh look, I have an assignment. How do I go from that point to the end when I get my little paper from the Board of Elections that says this is your precinct, whatever? What's every step of the process there?
Yeah, so once again, because we haven't actually paid for TurboVote yet, this is the theoretical. But everyone that I've talked to, both on TurboVote side and on Duke side, says it's looking like a good plan. So, what happens? You, at this point, have received an email saying, yo, here's your P.O. box. You go into the freshman checklist. You click the little box that says registration. Pretty much all of your information is already filled out for you. Your address, like which dorm you're in, stuff like that. You fill in your name. You fill in your P.O. box. You fill in, no, we could do move-in date, already fill out for you. So you fill in your name, you fill in your P.O. box. And then you're done. When you get to school, in your mailbox, there will be waiting for you a filled out voter registration form, postmarks on it, and address to the Durham County Board of Elections. You take out your mail, you sign your name, you put it back in and you're done.
5 minutes question time to watch, unless there's move to that extend by 3 minutes.
Is there a second?
Second.
What was it?
3 minutes. Extend speaker's time to 3 minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Nay.
Division.
Raise your hand. Aye. Raise your hand, nay. You guys have it. Wait, why wasn't there a question first? Dinner.
Oh, I had a motion, so.
So, I think that the reason I'm probably so first of all, what is the price for a 1-year contract?
The price for 1-year contract is $5,000.
5,000?
Search price. 7 colleges are all signed up.
Okay, so I guess I thought it would be a little bit lower than that. So the reason that, at least in theory, I'd be partial to 1 year is because this is obviously the year that most people are going to be registering, right? Because it's the presidential election.
Yeah.
And so if it turns out that we have lower than expected or disappointing turnout with this turbo vote service, then it's not like we're going to see spikes the year after a presidential election or even the year after a presidential election, right? So it kind of makes sense to me just to do a 1-year contract, even if the price per year is lower, because and I think my hunch is that this isn't going to be that widely used, if we do end up seeing disappointing turnout, then we're not going to see anything higher in the years after, right? Because this is like the best case study year to use. And so paying for 3 years doesn't really make much sense.
So a couple things. I don't think that the response to low or disappointing voter turnout should be, let's can a project that helps us increase voter turnout.
But if it's a prime election year, then it should be, right? Because 2 years from now, no one's really going to care about the election.
Well, like this thing. Yeah, it's me too. But it's,
Well, that's 3 years.
Yeah, that's why we're getting 3-year contract. But
Yeah,
it's
but the other
unfortunately
thing is
so,
wasted.
right? Like, I see what you're saying. But if voter turnout is low, I think it'd be problematic if our response was, let us eliminate a program that helps inflate voter turnout, right?
Can I add a couple of things?
I'm saying we should do it 3 years.
So a couple, like if you look at the ideal long-term scenario, right, this is freshman, before your freshman year is the most ideal time to get people to register. So the ideal scenario is you register people before they come to campus, no matter if it's an election year or a midterm election year. Now, obviously, you can't get every single incoming freshman to register, and you will probably see variations depending on whether or not it's a midterm or a presidential election year. But, the ideal scenario is one where you have this, it happens before people get here so that you don't have to do this rush voter registration before an election. The second thing is, with these kind of programs, it's generally best to give them longer than 1 year anyways, and I think there's definitely a price rationale for doing longer than 1 year also. So there's kind of two things there.
So, you mentioned multiple political groups have said this is a good thing. I'm wondering, why are we alone paying for it? So, I know those groups are student organizations, but why is Polis or something else not throwing money in for something like this? And why would it just be us then paying $10,000 for it?
Well, in part because we have a $100,000 surplus that we, probably just don't do.
The argument shouldn't be about. So this is where I actually disagree with Brian. Brian's point about waiting till the next great idea. No, I think we should be evaluating the merits of every single idea based on whether or not they're good for the money that you're spending for them on. So I wouldn't use the we have $100,000, therefore we can be more lenient with how much we want to spend our money. But I think we have to just ask, that's why I'm asking, so why is it that those other groups haven't stamped it, just like the DeWitt Wallace Center thing, with New York Times said we would help support it. Why are we not getting the same thing for this?
So to a certain extent, can I respond?
Can you just let him finish the question?
Yeah. I move to extend by 5 minutes.
No.
No.
Just let him finish the question.
I move to extend by 30 seconds.
Alright, was there any more of the question, or you?
No, that's it.
Alright, so to a certain extent, for me, it's the time crunch. The whole Office of Undergraduate Resources is putting their plans together last week. I've been talking to Inhale about this for the past 2 months. And this is, from what I've talked to everyone, the fastest way to make things happen. here's the legislative statute, we can make it happen now. Given how quickly I think things need to get off the ground, I think that we should just go ahead and fund it. That being said, in the future, if we were to extend the contract, I think that passing it off to Polis or some of the organizations who are interested is a thing that we will do. So long term, yes. Short term, no, I want to make it happen.
I have a motion I move to table, so you guys have put together like a real presentation. That there's a lot of specifics on each one of these things that would be much better done if you put together like a real presentation like you guys did earlier in the year, and would move things forward more quickly.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Point of order, so like, if you make a motion to do something, i.e. to table, and then like follow that up with a justification for why you want to make a motion to table, and then have a vote on the motion to table immediately after, without like a response to that, which like, it seems to me that there might actually have been a lot of questions that can be answered now. Like, I don't know, how would I make a point of making a point about that?
Yeah, should there have been a protected, isn't there some sort of negative against that? Like, he can't just propose a motion and then we just do it.
You can make your motion after all the thing.
What?
Would you like to speak to that? So.
No, but I was talking more about his specific motion. Shouldn't there be
John's
some sort
right,
of
there
negative?
should be a protected negative.
Is that protect negative?
Yeah, hold on. Jackson, your time's elapsed. Unless there's a motion to increase your time.
Well, no.
All right, we're now allowed to protect the negative, but we would like to speak against the legislative statute.
Motion to extend speaker's time.
Well, this is.
Point of order.
I'm confused.
So listen, everyone, this was the first speaker, and afterwards they protect the negative. If anyone wants to speak against it, they can speak. If not, you can make a motion and vote.
I wasn't trying to go against it.
Point of order question. Point of order question. My question was about specifically speaking against the motion to table. So why was it that we just suddenly voted to table without anyone presenting the opposite point to what Brian presented?
Is there a second meeting?
Is that how it works? I did not know that's how it works.
Josh, can I move to extend speaker's time by 5 minutes so that we can
That motion is out of order.
so that we can
Wait,
maybe.
Jay, I just checked it. We cannot debate
So-
motion to table.
In which case, can
It's in house rules.
I request that Vice President Dinner retracts his motion and instead we extend the speaker's time by 5 minutes so that we can potentially ask them the questions that you seemed concerned that they might not be able to answer tonight. Is that fair?
I'm more worried about the next two are coming.
But we haven't asked a single question about those two, so how can you definitively say that they don't know anything about them?
Because we were asking so many questions about this.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, is that in dinner, yes or no?
To withdraw? Yeah.
Well, can we at least split these up?
All right.
If you're worried about the
Hold on,
next
Sullivan.
one, not this one.
Senator Sullivan.
Yes?
He can make the motion, we did vote to do it, and, we didn't actually vote on the vote, but there was a second.
Sorry, I will rescind. I'll rescind that motion just because of.
In which case, we are now in line for protect negative, we would like to speak.
No, motion to extend the speaker's time by 5 minutes.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
So there's a motion to extend the speaker's time by 5 minutes.
This is so that we can talk about the other two things on the list.
That are worth $30,000.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, you guys have 5 minutes. Who's the question?
Quick point of order, and this is kind of in the form of a question. When making a motion, can you speak as to why you're making that motion? Because I think that's why we had the problem earlier, where he made the motion, said why he was speaking about it, like why he's making the motion, then we voted.
Yeah, so the way that making a motion is supposed to work, most motions just have 3 parts, which will include the type of motion, the amount of time it would take, and the purpose. So say we wanted to say that we're going to vote, that's an easy one that just rolls in, that has those implicit answers. But say we wanted to have a moderated caucus about this, I would move for a 5-minute moderated caucus to talk about the questions we have with surplus. So a 5-minute moderated caucus to discuss the utility of napkins. So that will be in order. So to table the caucus, which it's an indefinite time, with the purpose of waiting for more information until next week is totally
All right.
incorrect.
Does anyone have any questions or?
This motion should start to
So-
suspend the House rules and just go one by one, do pros and cons,
Yeah.
and not do
Okay, so
this stuff.
I was gonna address that. So my original plan was to have an amendment, to debate the amendment and then you vote on the amendment, but that may not be the most efficient way to do it. It's friendly to me and to the authors to break it up into 3 individual budgetary statutes. So this way we can introduce, debate, and then vote on an entire budgetary statute as opposed to amending and then trying to vote on the whole thing.
So to me, it seems like it would be really, because students think that we don't do anything with money, which like maybe we don't, but also when we break things out to make them really small, they just don't get coverage, which seems to me like the reason we're doing an omnibus. So I wonder, how would we feel about taking like an unofficial, official vote on each one and then like packaging them together so that like the headline Chronicle doesn't read DSG makes outpods, but instead it's like DSG spends 50 grand on like improving the students. Like what are
Yeah, so it's about 100%.
Would that be something you would consider?
So we'll be voting on each section as an amendment for the budgetary statute, one by one, so, yeah.
So,
But
can we vote on turbo vote?
We have 2 minutes left of question time, so everybody?
Yeah. The second one just seems sort of indulgent with $10,000 per chair, so it can be grants, and there's a grant, one slightly less ergonomically correct, or nearly a sixth of the price, $1,500, I believe. I wonder whether with this band we may be paying for marketing more than anything else. I mean, it's definitely better, but is it 600 better?
I thought you just decided to break it up.
No, there are 2 minutes of question time, so.
For the whole thing?
Yeah, well, we voted to.
But I thought we just.
Point of order. Point of order. Can we vote on turbo vote?
Yeah, so we're still on the first part. They have 2 minutes left of question time because we voted to extend the speaker time.
Well, point of order question then. Can we not just do it where we've discussed turbo vote now, and we vote on turbo vote, and we discuss the next one, then we vote on that one?
2 minutes left of questioning for turbo.
Then we can.
Okay. Can we just get rid of this time then?
We have a minute left.
No one has any more questions about turbo vote?
So yeah, I did actually have a question about turbo vote. So, basically, one thing I'm like slightly concerned with, I don't know how much, but in order to register to vote, part of your social security number and your birthday actually be on the thing. Is there any concern that the
last
registration form will get put in the wrong mailbox?
So it depends. Last 4 digits of your social security number have to be on your thing. Given that you don't want to provide a North Carolina ID card or a North Carolina driver's license. And if you really don't want to provide any of those, you can check a box that's like, yo, I don't want to provide any of these things right now. And then you have to do them at the polls. I would recommend not checking that box to all likely voters because it's a little bit less convenient. But if that is a fear that a student has, they can get around that through a variety of pathways. So I wouldn't really think that that concern in and of itself is something that should stop us from passing it.
All right. We're now on left projecting negative. We're going to speak against the first part of this budgetary statutes amendment regarding turbo vote. Senator Sullivan, you have 5 minutes.
Okay, so,
Yay. I also get to one of my Jeremy Cash shows, which I'm really excited about.
The reason why, okay, so first of all, I mean, we're looking at the spending stuff. This is specifically about turbo vote and its utility to be able to actually register people to vote. I think we went through the process of how someone actually uses turbo vote, and since they sign up online, they get something in the mail, then they have to like mail it back, and then they get registered, and they get apparently notifications and whatnot about elections. I think this, like, from a user perspective, is actually not that efficient or good. It's a lot easier, at least for me, when I registered to vote here at Duke, was filling out a voter registration form that someone gave me and giving it right back to them and knowing it was going right to the Durham Board of Elections and knowing that it was going to get there and not being confused and having someone who actually knew about it that I could talk to and be like, should I put this as my address or like da-da-da-da. I think that was actually much more useful than spending $9,500 for something that's, I guess, harder to use. My other thing is I brought up the point above about Paulus and about other centers on campus. I know we're sort of in this rush, but there's a reason why I think like these things are more like kind of widgets that schools are paying for versus actually doing the groundwork which you really need, which is the community organizing stuff to actually make it happen. And I would prefer something like this rather than us paying for it, that it's also paid for and sponsored by the organizations on campus whose explicit mission is to make a better political culture on campus as well. So those are my main points on this front. I just don't think we should be spending, like, not just spending money, but I just don't think we should spend money, period, regardless of where it comes from, on TurboVote. I don't think it does the job we want. The job that we want done is better done through grassroots organizing, where people actually taking the time to walk around and get people to vote, not by just having a website that we pay for and pointing other people to vote.
Yeah. Now it's 5 minutes of questions. Senator, please.
So you say that community organizing would be much better, but I think that's just not borne out. The amount of effort that it takes for these organizations like Duke Democrats, DCR, to get people to register, that hasn't gotten everybody registered to vote, doesn't get them to, doesn't remind them, doesn't get all the new freshmen. And the way I see it, in the long term, if we can institutionalize a system that everybody gets registered when they come in, and you get it, it's just a quick mailing thing, it seems to me like, how is that worse than every year having to use resources from all of these student organizations to get people registered when it would be so easy just institutionalize it right now?
So I don't think we're actually institutionalizing anything. Like a lot of what makes something institutionalized is not the fact that you've built a program, but that you've created a culture around it in which then people use it. So I think you run into the same problem that you run into with any other voter registration issue of, will people actually use it? If Larry Mineta sends them an email saying to use it, will they actually use it? The likelihood is very much people don't read Elmo's emails. Sorry, I like them anyway, but like it's true. But that's my point. My other point is I don't think having a service creates a culture. What creates a culture is people being able to do the work for this, and having seen and participated in these voter registration drives before. Like, it's not easy, but like that requires, in order to create a culture shift, you actually have to put the work in. So either way, people are still going to be doing all that work in order to get people to register through this system. But this system, to me, is far more inefficient because you have to fill out something online, then you have to remember to check your mailbox, and after that you have to remember to put it back in the mail, then you have to hope that it gets there correctly, then you have to actually, the next step is then to make sure and confirm you're registered, and then you have to actually go and vote. Like, you've added 3 more steps into a process that you don't need to add steps into, and that is my biggest thing.
Senator
There are also free online sources that we used last year with Rock the Vote where people could fill it out and then print out their form and literally hand it in, and you didn't have to fill it out through there and then get it sent to you in the mail. That was something we used last year, and I thought that was actually much easier. Okay.
I think those are totally legitimate concerns that we talked about with DPU Unite. Would you like me to pass on the, like,
I mean, I can just go talk to them about it, it's fine.
I know, but like, so the rest of the Senate can hear it.
Yeah, I mean, you can pass it on to them. I mean, my other thing is Unite is new. Unite has only been around for about a year, less than a year. It's run by a bunch of really high, impact, high-achieving sophomores. And DPU has only recently really stepped up its game. The past couple of years, it's not been that great. I mean, it's true. Like, it kind of fell off the map sophomore, junior year for those of us who are seniors in the room. So there's a lot of fluctuation, I feel like, with those organizations as well. And so I think to like do it based on the fact that those 2 groups, one of which is completely new and while it's doing things, like is brand new to campus, I'm not sure that's the best thing to do. And that's why I also asked like other organizations as a whole that are supporting it beyond Paulus, which is also new, but like the institutional support you would need for manpower in order to make it successful, that's what I'm also trying to ask questions about.
Senator Gilbert.
With North Carolina's sort of tough voter ID laws, which are 90 days after like a week, and the fact that voting in North Carolina significantly affects state registration back home, and 85% of the students are not from North Carolina. Do you think that this could perhaps ensnare students inappropriately?
Yeah, I think students should vote when they want to vote. I moved to North Carolina mid-college, so this is now my home. But like I originally in 2012, when we had the 2012 presidential election, I voted back home because the candidates I knew, and I wanted to make sure my vote was counted there. So I think like there are plenty of reasons why we shouldn't, or like there's a reason why we want to mobilize students to vote. It makes it's important that they vote, but I would say like because of the way that the laws are structured,
I guess that, you know, their purpose is for that to happen potentially as well. But I think having something like this could potentially produce like false information. So if a freshman signs up and doesn't realize that, or gets confused by it, then that like puts them in a weird position. I think the main thing that's most important is that people vote. I don't really, like, personally, I don't care if you vote here or if you vote in your home place. Wherever you want to vote, wherever you want your voice to count, that's what matters to me. Not that, like, what matters is that you actually vote. So, like, does this make it so that you actually vote? Potentially, but I don't think it solves, like, all the problems of what we want people to do in order to vote. And, like, I think it'd be fine if, you know, half the student body was voting at home and half was voting here in North Carolina.
The speaker's time is left, unless there's a motion to increase his time.
I move for a 2-minute moderated clock for the second speaking time, for the purpose of clarifying what exactly the mechanism of freshman registering for turbo vote would be.
All right, is there a second?
Yeah. When he has asked for a moderated caucus.
In
other words,
in a positive speech, they'll just outline that.
Okay. So there is no second?
I want some discourse.
All right, we're now live in affirmative speech. We're going to affirmative.
Wait, can we just move on to vote, or is that?
No. 3 minutes?
Yeah. It's not what's down.
All right, so just to make sure your problems are inefficiency, first and foremost, people voting out of state, and it's going to cause problems for grassroots organizations because that form of getting people registered is better. All right, so first on the inefficiency thing. It's not that much of a multi-step process. I've been registering people this entire semester. It is insane how hard it is to fill out a simple registration form. You wouldn't think it is, but what do you put down as your address? Is it Duke East campus? There are 2 different addresses for East? It can be a mess. On TurboVote, all of that information can be preloaded, and the only things you'd have to put down are your name and your PO box number. The place could accomplish the rest of that for us. Additionally, it's not an additional trip to your mailbox because during freshman orientation, everyone is taken to their mailboxes anyway. Almost, at least it was for us, I'm not sure if it was for y'all. Every step that we have to go through is not some additional cumbersome burden, but rather something that's already part of going through the freshman process. All right, on to the second thing about out-of-state voters. So this actually think is another place where TurboVote would help. A lot of the on-the-ground grassroots organization campaigns fail because we pretty much only know, and once again, I've registered about only know how to register North Carolina voters and can't hand deliver out-of-state ballots to like an Oklahoma Board of Elections office. TurboVote, however, does offer services so that a person can be registered in any state they want to and can provide reminders for those people. If you're actually concerned about people being able to vote out of state, then you actually want to support TurboVote. And finally, on the issue of the grassroots organization, on this, to a certain extent, I see you. I too am a big fan of paper ballots. But every group has collectively said that there's a greater need, like the statistics on voting information, which TurboVote provides. And insofar as your attack on these grassroots organizations is that they haven't been new, or is that they're new, if a grassroots organization campaign wants this to help and register people, I think that we should actually support grassroots campaigns, who are the people who are asking for this, by giving it to them. Real quickly, or did you have any other objections?
There is a question. Then, Senator Dolchek. What happens when correct me if I'm wrong, but when you move from East Campus to West Campus, aren't you now a different?
Yeah, you have to re-register.
Right, what happens? Or you could walk to East Campus, tell me this as a TurboVote.
So
readjust your information.
Every registration, no matter what, requires a signature. Possible things that can happen, just as you fill it out to the southern halfway, or you get to East Campus, you then doing something, refill it out to the southern halfway, if you get to West Campus. It also probably is a reminder that you need to do that. Where one of the big problems right now is people don't know.
So would you make an argument that that's actually going to help students?
I would, yeah. So one of the, furthering on that, one of the organizations that has a very similar program to what we're proposing is Harvard. And they've had fantastic outcomes with students switching their registration because they also, yeah, with TurboVote. Students who go there, just like us, they have to switch which places they're part of. And they have
Yeah, 2 quick questions. So I don't know a whole lot about the voter registration system, but I mean, I kind of buy Jay's point that this seems to add a lot of intermediary steps to the process. So can you shuffle on that a little bit? And then my second question is, I think we're looking at it the wrong way, right? We need to look at it as to whether the marginal benefit of this service, right, versus the status quo is worth $9,500, right? So, like, grassroots organization for voter registration is still going to exist whether or not we buy the system, right? So, is this going to increase the registration of students sufficiently, rather, because you can't compare just to like 0 students registering to this, right? You have to compare it to the status quo of grassroots organizers to this added benefit.
So I've seen probably hundreds of voter registration forms this semester because on DRA, most of what I was doing was registering people to vote. It was a mess. Very few people want to take time and be like, oh, fill out this form to do it. So I think reducing that instead of like 7 different boxes you have to fill out to 1, 2, your name and PO box would be helpful. Additionally, even when you have people there, like we've seen with GIMS and DBU, registering people to vote, the number of forms that we get back, and mind you, after the people who are registering have gone through pretty intensive training on how to register folks, or like have the wrong address, are written in the wrong color pen, people forget to check a box at the top saying that they're 18. These are all minor mistakes, but they happen a lot. And when half the forms that you're doing in terms of grassroots organizing are somehow invalidated because like of a misspelling or forgetting to check a box, and when we have a program that can eliminate all of those, making those forms now usable, I'd say it's good. To get the comparison, there are a lot of problems with grassroots organizing that everyone's had trouble fixing.
Can I ask just a quick follow-up?
Can I make a point of information?
Sure.
So the Institute of Politics at Harvard is what actually pays for it at Harvard and who we partnered with TurboVote, not the student government. Important point for me.
Speaker time's lapsed. Is there a motion to increase this time?
A motion to amend. Would it be friendly to change it to a sum of $5,000 for a 1-year contract?
No. All right. Would you like to debate?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a little more palatable for an experiment, and especially since it's the election year, the other two aren't.
Yeah, they don't want to speak. Can I give them a point of information for it? Sure. 5,000 is a general quote. This, they've said they can definitely do. 5,000 was the quote that we got beforehand, but they said they might be able to do it. They don't know if they can take on more people, given that 7 colleges are already going for 1 year. Sean, do you see
The problem is they're a startup, so they don't have a lot of.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to give a budget, not a number here. So.
Can you come down and speak? No? All right, fine. Would anyone like to speak against it? If not, we move to a vote on the first part.
Okay, yeah. So, small point, and I think, I mean, obviously 5,000 is a quote and whatever else, but I think if you're going to institute a system, it's better to not commit to 3 years of it. This is just a completely different argument, but I think this is just more of a pragmatic argument for us now. Even though it might cost more marginally, I think it's better to try something out first before we get into a 3-year contract with them. The second point I'd like to make, and this was my point about the Harvard thing, is, I'm fine with DSG being the people who are sponsoring it, but I think it actually adds both legitimacy and also it's a good thing when there's administrative backing, in the sense that the Institute of Politics at Harvard was who's paying for it. I think Polis would be a really important partner in something like this, and that should be, if their mission is what they say it is. So those are 2 things that I think are really important here. But I would actually be very much in favor of a $5,000 for 1-year thing, especially because this is an election year. This is a great time to pilot it and figure out if it's good. The other thing is TurboVote is a startup. So it's being paid for by, like I was just doing my background research on them very quickly. It's being paid for by grants and things right now and other investors. But like long run, whether or not it succeeds is up in the air. And this is probably part of their growth plan is to get people on. So that's probably, they want us on a 3-year contract so that they are able to have us as customers for 3 years. I think it's a much better decision for us to pragmatically say we'll spend $5,000 this year, we'll see how it goes, and then we'll decide to re-up a contract longer term if it's successful. That's a better decision than 3-year contract, we don't know how it works.
Right now, I have 3 minutes of questions. Would anyone like to present questions to themselves?
Yes.
So I've been talking for the past few months with the Office of Undergraduate Admissions about this program. And when we're doing voting information, they're putting stuff together right now. The time is of the essence. Do you have any ballpark on how quickly we could actually get something rolling if we have to go through policy? Because part of this for me is that speed is concerned. That's why we're coming to DSG in the first place.
Yeah, so those are two different arguments that I was presenting. So the one is that Polis should be involved in this long term. But I don't like us signing under a 3-year contract without them being involved. Second,
the more important point for me was, I think it's more of a pragmatic decision to say, we'll spend a little bit more now, but we'll figure out if we like it before we get bogged into a 3-year contract. And the other thing is, I don't think that the point about them having this as being like a rush pricing, they'd still have to get us that, you know, if we want it by this upcoming election cycle, they still have to get us the product by then, regardless of how much money we're paying for it. So like, I don't get how that argument of, well, this is like a surge price for immediate makes any sense, because we still want the product, even though we're paying $9,500, we still want the product now so we can use it for next year for the election cycle. So I don't get where the timeline of like 7 extra schools comes into the pricing structure there.
That's the same for both. It's reduced prices for future years.
Okay, well, okay. Oh, so you're saying the way the price, so you're saying the way that it's priced out now is it's 5,000 and then lower price for year 2, year 3?
All of the insurance, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, just sort of on Jay's last point, I actually do think that it would be helpful to have with Wallace, or one of those, I don't know too much about schools, just sort of like, that you have a relationship with those groups or things that in the next week, we can talk to them about it with them.
Who are we talking about? Sorry?
Hollis.
Hollis? Yeah, I mean, I can email Landy right now and ask her, but she's not gonna.
Oh,
yeah, I'll text Landy.
I don't see why this is necessary to figure out now, especially if we're getting a three-year contract. Because we're not, I think, I want to complete my point here, which is, I think that in the long term, we're going to be able to get their engagement on this if we can guarantee them, look, we have the service, but we're ready to work with you on it, rather than DSG can't figure out whether or not we want to help students vote. Like, that's what it will look like, and we have at least a year to figure this out, if we were to get this contract up to 3 years.
Senator Sullivan's time will elapse. Unless there's an additional speech in the affirmative of section 1 of the budgetary statute. If not, we move to your vote.
Wait, can I make a motion now? Motion to table while giving a 1-minute presentation to explain my motion. I can do that, yeah.
Second. Is there a second? Okay. All those in favor? Aye. All those against?
Nay. Okay, motion is tabled.
All right. Motion has failed. There's a second. Motion has failed. There's a secondary motion on the table. Does everyone understand?
Table what?
Table the entire thing.
The entirety of the omnibus bill.
Oh my God.
Wait, is there a second?
Can we wait, JP, wait.
No.
I mean, the same point that I made 10 minutes ago that clearly wasn't addressed, right, by the motion.
Wait.
Right, the motion being, why don't we disaggregate it and then talk about the second and third projects, rather than motion to table the entirety of it, having not even spoken about project 2.
Just so everyone understands, again, we're currently in debate of section 1, because they want to propose this, and then we're going to go one by one. However, Vice President Dinner has called for a motion to table the entirety of the bill until next week.
In which
There's a
case,
second, and now we have
I would ask Brian to rescind again his motion in favor of a disaggregation of this bill, so we can at least discuss projects 2 or 3, because we have no idea whether or not his motion for projects 2 and 3 applies to the justification that he gave for project 1.
Vice President Dinner, do you have a response?
So,
Is that yes or no?
there are 50 people in this room right now. We've been talking about this for 50 minutes.
We've been talking about project 1 for that long.
That means that there are 41 hours and 20 minutes approximately that we've been talking about this. If we had a presentation, then we'd be able to understand it a lot better, and we'd know things a lot better, be more educated in the decision that we're making on behalf
I
of
take that as a no.
tens of thousands of dollars.
I take that as a no. I feel like
This is a $9,500.
John, point of clarification. Hold on, there's been a motion, there's a second, we have to vote on it. There's a motion to table until next week, the entirety of the bill. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Raise your hand, aye. The entirety of the omnibus bill.
Because I want you guys to, I totally, actually do this.
All right, raise your hand if you are in favor of tabling the bill until next week. Raise your hand if you are opposed. All right, nays have it.
Motion.
John, point of
Move for a 5-minute unmoderated caucus.
Are you going to motion to table the first one?
Yeah, I'm going to disaggregate.
All right.
I believe in a motion.
There's a motion?
Yeah, I moved to disaggregate this bill into 3 separate budgetary statutes. Is that friendly?
That's what we're currently doing.
We're kind of already doing it.
Yeah. Okay, motion to table the first
section of this budgetary statute and vote on the next two.
Okay. Is there a second? Right, so just so everyone understands, we're motioning to table section 1 of the legislative statute. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Raise your hand if it's aye. All right, raise your hand if it's nay.
John, do we have quorum?
The ayes have it, 20 to 2. To just put the table, first section of the legislative statute. Moving forward to, while Lake County, if we have quorum, moving forward to section 2, project 2 of the amendment.
Also, just keep in mind that like, you're gonna have these presentations every single week. Like presentations to vote, to spend the surplus every single week. So like, I think it's so reasonable to table the election bylaw part because, you know, people want more information, they want to talk to that group. But just recognize that like, we'll sit down in exec and try to figure out if there's a better way we can do this, but like, we can't waste hours, you know, asking questions and doing all this stuff. We just need to figure out what we need to know to make, you know, an informed decision. If that means that, you know, we need to have a Google form where we see the presentations 5 days early and we ask questions there and then they put those answers in the presentation. I mean, whatever that is, but if you have any ideas for how to make this more efficient, reach out to me and Brian.
Yeah, and to address that point, we have these meetings every Sunday at 8 o'clock. I open them for the entire Senate, and these two right here are the only people that showed up.
That could be a problem with the time.
All right, guys, so just so everyone understands, we're on the same page. We just voted to table the first part, section 1 of the special statute. Now, Senator Kadakia, I believe you want.
Was that it? Did that vote?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Sorry,
thought
we have 3 minutes.
Yeah, okay, so we're gonna keep this quick. The reason I'm introducing this is not necessarily because I think this is the best use of money to not spend $20,000 to buy that water. The reason I'm introducing this is because when we initially did the whole surplus thing and we were soliciting ideas, there was tremendous excitement among the student body. I got like a dozen emails from people wanting NAPOD. It was all over Yik Yak, a couple people sent me Facebook notes about it. And this is probably the only thing that I've seen students actually get excited about in 4 years. And I mean, I wrote all this morning about how people don't care about what we do. And like, this is one thing that people are actually excited about. And we actually have student input that this is something that they think would benefit the community as a whole. So I'd encourage you maybe not to think about the utility of one individual person sleeping in one individual nap pod, but rather think about the utility of doing something that the students actually want and have, for once, voiced, preference.
So true. All right.
Questions?
Now on 3 minutes of questions, beginning now with Vice President Uganda.
Yeah, so can you just give us like a logistical background? Where are they going to go? Like, who have you spoken to that's actually, like, have you ever sat down in one? Have you spoken to anyone who has? What was the reception like at, was it University of Miami? Things like that?
Yeah, so the University of Miami was the university that first introduced these. Kind of what got a lot of traction. They were tremendously popular at U of M. I haven't seen any subsequent stories about the logistics of how they handled it. As far as where they're going to go on campus, I've reached out to Chris Rohde at UCAB. He's kind of the guy that will help us figure out what. Sorry. Yeah. Like where they're explicitly going to go. We haven't figured out an exact location, partly because like there's this chicken and egg thing, right? You fund them and then you find out where they go, or do you find out where they go and then you find out. Generally, there seems to be, there's a lot of excitement about this in the UCAB, so they'll pretty much find a place for them. I've heard, don't quote me on this, I've heard since ABP is moving to the West Union, there's a possibility that they'll go there or some other places in the Bryan Center. Again, we don't have a specific location, but there is enthusiasm to find a place for them.
Any further questions? Anybody?
What led you to pick this particular nap pod?
This was the one that everyone emailed me about, and I did a little bit of research, and I didn't find any that were available for 2000, except basically the bunk bed that has like a cocoon around it, which I don't think is comparable to this. So,
Senator Farrell?
What value do you see these over the massage chairs?
yeah, so I'll go ahead and do that too. The massage chair is for a subsequent recommendation based on the nap pods. there was not as much enthusiasm about massage chairs. I think the value of them is that you get a lot more than only about $2,000 a piece. So, let's wrap this up, and we all focus, we will get here shortly. So the benefit of the massage chair is that it's a little bit cheaper, you can have more of them. But again, the reason I'm introducing the NAPLA is because we're so enthusiastic about this particular product.
Why don't we try to build like a nap zone or like something that can accommodate like more students than one individual $10,000 nap? Like why don't we take this great idea students have that many students are eager in and actually let them push the student body? Like can there be a nap room?
Hey, we got to too much conversation. There's a question.
Quorum, one speaker at a time. Senators, please.
I have another point. For example, like,
What would change like me getting a nap pod one
Motion to extend by 5 minutes.
Speaker's time is elapsed.
JP has made a motion.
Motion to extend by 5 minutes.
Second.
There's a motion to extend by 5 minutes.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Nay. Nays have it.
Wait, what? Wait, no. They just said
Goodness, they just
It's a classic.
It'll be in like British Parliament where the loudest people win. It's not gonna be loud. Trust me.
Anyway, since there's a hand raised, all in favor of increasing speaker's time by 5 minutes, raise your hand.
Nays are hiding in
This is laziness.
All opposed?
No, I just couldn't see it.
The ayes have it, I accept this time. 5 minutes beginning now, do you have any questions? Center side.
Wait, can we answer this question?
Go ahead.
Yes, absolutely. I get your point. Personally, I'm not in favor of nap pods. I don't think it's like a great piece of money. Like the reason why this is brought up and why it was brought to the vote of the Senate is because the value of the nap pod is not actually like one individual student sleeping in and having like a great good nap, but like the value it brings to the community. Like, oh, we have nap pods. Like this is something that like Duke York has done. Like the holistic movement.
I love that. And what I'm saying is like, let's maybe spend more money and make something more cohesive and like innovative.
Like, sure, right. Like it's different for us to say like we're going to commission a nap room within the university because we don't have jurisdiction over university buildings to just build.
Okay, fair.
President Mike Gonzalez.
Yeah, I actually think that's a great point of like people like there's a university that has in their library like literally a nap room and they have like 20 beds or something. And I just think like I would love to get you doing like a meditation room in student health buildings or something like that. So I mean like we could take these ideas that we have and rather than like indulge them in something that maybe is a fad right now, built in its long lasting. So again, I totally understand that we have done research on other possibilities. And also that like you guys have just a lot of effort into like social ideas. You guys are special.
and then someone's gonna spray on us. So I think that's sense.
But I'm just gonna like second Senator Lynch's idea of like maybe we can provide a scheme to broader ideas because I do think it's
Maybe there's like a relaxation room where you have massage chairs too.
Cool. Senator Charles.
Well, if I'd like to respond to the question in form of comment, you know, like that's great, and like I think, you know, but consider like the cost of creating like a nap room, right? Like there is a much greater cost than $20,000.
But you said so the cost proportionally though. Like you said you justified this cost.
I understand, but like, you know, we do only have $100,000. Like, the last thing I'll say is this is an iterative process. We're not like, this isn't the only time we're going to present to you guys. So like, you know, if you send me an email, I'm more than happy to add to our list and we'll consider it for the next time.
Yeah, so I agree with what you said that it would be great to kind of like indulge the students in what they want to do, but I think it'll generate much more frustration in the long run than it will make people happy. Because it'll make people happy for like 48 hours when they're like, wow, Duke's awesome now, we have nap pods. then everybody's gonna try to get to them and then realize that there's like a 6,000 student undergraduate body and 2 nap pods.
I mean, I don't necessarily agree with, again, the company like 4% or something. But like, you know, I don't really think that's gonna be the case. Like, no one's in BC usually in the evening and at night and on the weekends. So like, I don't actually think it's gonna be like 6,000 people running to use a nap pod. Like, you can nap like in the room and other places on campus. So the value is that it's there in a place that people commonly use throughout the day. So like, but I do get what you're saying.
Will there be a system in place to like manage how long people can eat in nap pods? Because like, I feel like that might solve a bit of that.
We haven't really gotten there. I'm not sure if there's like a mechanism that will.
To answer your question, it's like, there's like a timer. Oh, you're sleeping? It's like a 20-minute nap, kind of looking before and afterwards, like,
Yeah, I mean, like, you can plug in here. It's the massage shirt.
It's like a 20-minute cycle, goes through the massage program to run for, to like ensure that you just sleep for 8 hours. Have a sleep cycle, so like, that's like the theory behind it.
Any further questions? Senator Letty?
With regards to the previous idea of setting perhaps a better community on campus, with regards to the issue of like, it's sort of hard to accommodate your room. I think that is reiterate, if you were to get cheaper nap pods, you can get 5 or 6 of them, it's much easier to accommodate your room by the argument of putting stuff somewhere.
Will, sit down.
Games like good reservation in that pod.
Alright, 20 seconds left, and we'll ask questions.
Alright, so, do you know like how long these nap pods are supposed to work before they need maintenance?
Can I rephrase that? Housing cleanup? Do you mind? So, wouldn't they wouldn't they just get gross after a bunch of people sleep in them every day?
Yeah. Well, like, JP, like there are, you know, those Dr. Pittman like cleans those bean bags, those orange.
So we're just gonna depend on Dr. Pittman to clean
No,
them.
but like he's offered to have UC help out with that. Like, basically, they would be in control.
Alright, the speaker's time is elapsed, there's a motion to speaker's time again. Alright, we're now going to protect negative speech against section 2 of the legislative statute, we're going to speak against nap pods.
Does anyone want to be on record as speaking against nap pods?
I don't want to see.
We have a brave soul.
Nap pods, like previous speakers have said, I want to see a comprehensive napping experience. And I think that's
Oh, yes. Yes.
And I think the way we're talking about is sort of a false dichotomy. We're saying, oh, do we spend $20,000 on a couple nap pods, or do we spend way more money on a much bigger napping thing? And I think that's a false dichotomy. I think that these particular nap pods may not be the best route to napping. There are even alternatives in the world of nap pods that are cheaper than that. So perhaps we should take a closer look at a way of expanding this idea for a similar price range that could be more popular.
Would you be willing to personally or find staff in the room to undertake that effort?
Yeah, I will work to create that.
I think I might be.
I would be ready to sit.
Sit. Any other questions? Thank you, Senator Letty.
Are you guys seriously doing this?
Guys, please don't.
Are you guys seriously doing this? Wow, that's mature. That's really mature, guys.
I think, I actually think that we can't do that. I think we just lost quorum.
Yeah, because they walked out.
Stop them. Somebody stop them.
Guys, come on.
VPs were counted. VPs can be counted.
Did you count?
Because it's voting.
Let's count.
I didn't count VPs the first time.
So how far are we now?
Let me count, so I did not count VPs the first time. VPs technically can't count.
But the fact that we're doing this, guys, hold on a second.
The second meeting in a row, guys.
I'm gonna come back on senators and then
But we're by camera. We should go over that. The fact that, like, you know, you want to
We're talking about like you're not supposed to have a side conversation. And then like you wonder why people get so upset. Like, I mean,
16, 17, 18, 19, 21, 22, 23, 24, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30.
All right. Unfortunately, guys, unfortunately, we do not have a quorum. We are actually one person behind, and as such, we cannot vote on this legislation.
Like, we literally just had DSG elections today. We was campaigning for the last 2 weeks about what it caused DSG, why we should fix it, and like, this happens the very first time. I think this is really, like, sad.
But the people that you should be telling are not the people in this room right now. That's the point.
Guys, please be quiet as we count.
Hold on, Jackson wasn't in the room before.
Can we like take attendance and count who's here?
Yes, you need to
like know who's here.
Can you do a roll call? Yeah, and then I would like to send all of the people who walked out to Richard.
Alright, Secretary Carol.
Is Gilbert here? Wait, is Gilbert here to give you? What?
Thank Gilbert. Welcome to the trumpification of DSG right here. People just not doing their job. I feel like such an old timer being like, back in our old days, we used to sit through the damn meeting and do stuff like that. But now it's actually true. It's true. It is happening before our eyes. We have freshmen walking out the entire day. I got pissed. I would be upset about this, but I lived with it because we made it easy. We did something. We've done nothing. We need to get on this deal. Have a blast. It's pretty pathetic. Yeah, it's bad. It's bad. Why don't we just
just left. Guys, we take attendance again to see if we have enough. Starting from the top, Senator Wells.
Here.
Senator Brown. Senator Gilbert. Here. Senator Grant. Senator Gottlieb. Senator Jane. Senator Tanner. Senator Mineta. Senator Sullivan. Here. Senator Katzen. Senator Speed. Senator Shaw. Yep. Senator Gambardella. Senator. I know, we can do it. Senator Glasser. Oh, no. We'll just move on. Senator Glasser. Senator Jorno. Senator Rappleye. Senator Hardy. Senator Smith. Here. Senator Kadakia.
Here.
Senator Carrington. Senator Key. Senator Dillinger. Here. Senator Ingo Passi. Here. Senator Lentz. Here. Senator Chang. Senator Bazell. Senator Chang. Senator Pecoraro. Here. Senator Curtis. Senator Zhang. Here. Senator Zhao. Senator Moore. Here. Senator Good. Here. Senator Palmisano. Senator Bullock. Here. Senator Ganguly. Here. Senator Song. Senator Uriah. Here. Senator Farrell. Here. Senator Howe. Senator Hess. Here. Senator Luddy. Here. Senator Bartlett. Here. Senator Scythe. Senator Tom. Senator Yearly. Senator Wayne. Senator Torges. Here. Senator Watt. Senator Fogel. Here. Senator Bernetti. I know you left. Senator Scopus. Senator Thompson. Here. Senator Caldwell. Here. Senator Maddox. Senator Maddox. Senator Camarda. Senator Golchuk. Here. Senator Hopkins. Stephen Kachi. Here. Senator VP Normark. VP Gonzalez. VP Wiseman. Here. VP Lockwood. VP Melgard. VP Dinner. Here.
John, you never called my name.
Who? Yeah, I called you.
No, I never did.
Oh, okay. Let me check.
Here.
We are too short a quorum. Motion to adjourn.
Ah!
We can't even move to adjourn.
Is there a second on the motion to adjourn?
Can we even run?
Brian, walk away. Can I get a point of go ahead?
All right. There's a motion to adjourn, it's been second, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
We don't have to vote. Hey, we're not. Yeah, that's what we're not. We don't exist.
I know, I stood for finale.
Wait, can the title be like DSG refuses to exist?
I would like to point out that all the points I made, pull this all under the inefficient by design paragraph. So, I did.
You guys realize we just sat here for 2 hours and voted on nothing? We voted on nothing. It didn't matter. You know what? I'm fine with you saying that because I like you. But for anyone else right now, first thing I took away was like, why are they
Not like sit around and
that's why I was like, I also kind of agree.
I want to change our house.
Yeah, because otherwise I can just sit here for 3 hours
I'm in this.
JP, do you have matches at your apartment? Why? I bought some celebratory cigars.
It's a no smoking complex. You're not even allowed to smoke.
I think ours are too.
We also should just like drop that.
Well, that was a waste of my night. You want a quote? I'll give you a quote. No, not you.
No one?
I'll just like message.
I don't want to put together. Tell me the rules. I'm going to get 31 people. As soon as they come, we're responsible. That's an option if things are just like that.
Want me to start? No, honestly, I will. Want me to start doing it? I'll set up there.
how are we going to address fixing, being more efficient? Can I help you with presenting? Because I can just, my problem is I've been out of time past 2 minutes.
Minus, like you don't need to put it in, it's the exact same, like you swipe the thing, see everything, but it's just an accountability thing. And like having it shut off at a certain point, like alerts you as to, okay, you've been here for a full cycle.
So we could, I mean, we can try and but like we're asking my thing is my
been here for the
my thought is we work on actually creating it like a pitch deck, so I can and come in.
I kind of think we should have done
There's no fault in the ideas.
like in retrospect, we definitely should have done we should have voted yes on your motion to table and come back next week with like Thursday.
But I'd love to,
Like that.
I'd love to help you guys. Because I
He doesn't speak very
I do speak, so you did quite a bit. That's what I'm good at.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's a huge deal.
I'm good, Jay.
Don't do it. Go, Jay. As your attorney, I advise you to take full advantage of your Fifth Amendment right and refrain from giving any comments.
and decline to comment.
Oh, don't do that to me.
I mean,
This would be the one time I've declined to comment.
No. Put it down as Jay Sullivan's attorney advised him not to comment.
No, you can say Jay Sullivan expresses frustration by loudly yelling at the end of the meeting, "Ah!" which is what I did. That tells you what I wanted to say. Basically that.
In a roar, much like that of Russell Crowe.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained? Just start throwing people's laptops.
Today, Duke mourns the death of one of the DSG senators at a meeting went terribly wrong.
He was impaled on these little these things. His head was flung into it at full speed.
Impaled on a charging dock after being flung from a very comfortable office chair. Available in more areas of the university.
Make DSG great again. Make DSG great again.
And I like this movie.
Yeah.
Good God.
Well, it's true.
That was a great.
Oh, hey, Casey, what's up? Cut your lights off. Cut your lights off. Casey, why'd you do that? Oh, God.
I'm sorry I didn't give you a quote on that, but I probably will regret anything I say right now, so I'm just not going to do that. But again, my loud yell of frustration that was probably documented in your video very much encompasses my feelings at this moment.